Hey everyone, it is tea time with the diva. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, because we're going to get into it. This tea time is dedicated to Wendy Williams. You know, this whole guardianship thing, who knew how high up it goes? Okay. I mean, it starts with the judges, and it's just American greed at its finest. And unfortunately, I feel like they already depleted every dime Wendy Williams has under the name of a guardian. Why? Because this latest article I read, it says that guardians can charge up to $600 an hour. And not only that, they can hire all the additional people they need to help said person that they're supposed to be overseeing, all under the legal realms of they're the guardian. And so they also said what these guardians normally do, once they have ran your bank account dry, they then look to for any trust funds you have, any property that you own, and they go back to the court and say, listen, Diva ran out of money. Can you give us permission to sell off our home? The judge hits the guy and go, yep, go ahead, sell it off. You got to take care of Diva. So then they sell that. When they run through that money, they come back to the judge and they say, hey, judge, we sold the home. We got the money. You know, Diva is expensive to take care of. She likes to be in nice accommodations with nice things. We ran through that money. But I see Diva has a trust fund for her son. He's supposed to get it when he's 21. I see another day he was supposed to get when he's 35. We need that money. Judge hits the gavel and said, go ahead, sell it off. The guardian also has the legal right to keep you away from your family. The guardians, when they go to get guardianship over you, they will tell any kind of lie so that the judge will not appoint your own family member. They tell lies like your family member is the problem. The judge never investigates that. They just agree with it. This thing is sick. It runs deep. And it takes me back to Wendy Williams in the documentary when she was sitting there saying, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. That's stuck in my mind. So when people have dementia and they're going through these things, they have their ebbs and flows. They have their moments when they're totally themselves. And you're like, wow, you think they're coming back to you? And then they have their moments and that are they're off. In the moments of them coming back to self, it shortens till they have more moments on the other side where they don't know who you are, where they are, and what's going on. The perfect movie for me and that served as an insight into how this thing works. And I love that movie. What's the name is slipping my mind right now. I gotta get it, but I watched that movie over and over again. The character name was Noah. I loved it. If y'all could think of the name, let me know. I'll look it up to remind myself. But then with this whole guardianship thing, there was another movie, I think it was on Netflix, talk about I Care a Lot. And it was just perfect strangers coming in, serving as guardians over people only so they could steal their money. And the movie came back in my mind right now. It's called The Notebook. When I tell you I love that movie, I could watch The Notebook over and over and over again. But it reminds me of this diagnosis of dementia. It's like one moment, they're back to who they were. Like, I know that I'm Diva. I know that I did this. I know that I went to nursing school. I know that I have a son, And the family members, when they're in that moment with the person, they're like, wow, they think they're coming back. But then as soon as they have that moment leaves them. And they're back to like, who are you? Why are you here? Why are you touching me? I was married to you. What? So the courts got Wendy. Wendy got. And then they play with our emotions by putting things out there like the son is stealing her money. So we don't know who to trust. And they want that, a speculation out there so that they can remain guardian over Wendy or over any other person who they're doing this to so that they can suck their bank accounts dry. Listen, guys, we're going to get more into this story right after this. All right, guys, let me share screen. It's very sad with Wendy Williams. The laws that take control of Britney Spears and Wendy Williams' lives. What do Britney Spears, talk show host Wendy Williams, and artist Peter Max have in common? All three have been swept up in a secretive court system that controls every aspect of their lives. Currently in California, Cher and Jay Leno are appealing to this type of court arrangement for help with their afflicted loved ones, her drug-addicted son and his dementia-diagnosed wife. He is hoping they truly understand what they could be in for. The judicial procedure called guardianship, let me just pause this, called guardianship in most states and conservatorship in California, where Spears was held in its grips for nearly 14 years. It's touted as protective solution for vulnerable people the court decides are unable to care for themselves. Yet it often becomes a predatory program that costs American families billions of dollars every year. If you saw the 2020 thriller I Care a Lot, starring Rosamund Pike, you know what I mean. And if y'all did not get to see that, go watch it, because it is a clear example of what is happening with Wendy Williams. Fans devoured news about how Spears' father was allowed to monitor all her moves, phone calls, and friendships in real time. How could the court consider Britney an incapacitated ward of the court at the same time she earned millions of dollars in Vegas and on television? So how could the court consider Wendy not capable, incapacitated to make her own decisions, but yet she was said executive producer on that docuseries that came on Lifetime over the weekend? She was said to have been able to sign this paperwork to be executive producer and to get permission to do this, but yes, she's incapacitated. She can't take care of herself. She can't run her own money. Now, listen, let's be clear. I clearly saw there was a huge deficit with Wendy when watching that docuseries. But I'm saying it's a contradiction to say I need guardianship. I can't do this. I can't make my own medical decisions, but yet I can sign a contract about a docuseries. Supporters of Williams, meanwhile, were aghast that while under guardianship, she was left untreated for more than a year for a clear case of acute alcoholism. Where was her court-appointed guardian? That's what we want to know. Where was her court-appointed guardian that was getting paid cash? The public is left with little understanding about how this restrictive system works. That's because all proceedings are held in secret under the cloak of medical records privacy. So what they should do with these guardianships is they should make any part of the case that has to do with your medical records, they should seal that part and release the rest like they do with any other court case. That's because all proceedings are held in, I read that part, for few realize how soul-crushing the system can be, that currently some 2 million Americans are living under this court control. Here's the ugly reality. Citizens put in guardianship are immediately stripped of their civil rights, and all their access are seized by the court. In most states, a ward cannot hire their own lawyer to fight for them. That's insane. She can't hire her own lawyer to fight for her, but she can sign to say, I want to do a documentary. They can no longer choose where they will live or who can visit them. That's why Wendy Williams' family said we can't even visit her. They won't let us. They cannot spend their own money, drive, vote, marry, or decide to go on vacation. All their life decisions are no longer their own. Their bank accounts, property, and investments are immediately transferred into the name of whoever the judge appoints as the guardian. Hence, you know, when that apartment in New York was sold, where did the money go? Who decided to sell it? And then they moved Wendy to some apartment. That's before she went into the facility. Remember on the docuseries, she was talking about some apartment she already saw and she really likes it. This is Jay Leno, who's currently going through it with his wife. He's trying to get guardianship over her because she was diagnosed with dementia. And here's the shocker number one. Judges often overlook a loving family member who wants to be named as guardian, and instead they choose a stranger, a professional guardian, who can charge up to $600 an hour and hire several others to serve as the ward. So imagine $600 and you are supposed to be watching them 24 hours out a day. In 2.2 seconds, their money will be gone. The IP, which is an incapacitated person, must pay everyone involved, so estates can quickly diminish. And they have no say. If anxious relatives complain about a guardian's action, they risk being branded as a troublemaker and banned from visiting their loved one, sometimes permanently. And that's what's happened with Wendy Williams. It's as if the ward is dead in the eyes of the law. Here's another individual that he said his mother, Frances, was a well-known designer of beautiful silk blouses favored by celebrities. A decade ago, she was placed into guardianship by her oldest son, removed from her beloved Central Park penthouse, and forced by her guardian to live in a small apartment in Queens surrounded by hired caretakers. The guardian was restricted with visits with his mother until the day she died. And that's what fans are hoping does not happen to Wendy Williams' son. As this devoted son points out, a ward has fewer rights than a convict on death row. Does that make sense? Shocker number two. As these situations progress, the ward's readily available bank accounts run dry. Well, if you can charge up to $600 an hour, even if you're a millionaire, billionaire, yeah, it's going to run out. That's when the guardian returns to the judge and asks permission to sell the ward's home and its contents, or to raid a trust fund or an irrevocable trust so the money can be used for the IP's care. Remember they sold in this docuseries when these New York apartment went up for sale? Justice okayed these requests at an astounding rate. I don't know how some people sleep at night, the dirt that they do. And shocker number three, when guardians request to ignore a ward's power of attorney designee and their last will and testament bequeathments to specific heirs, judges routinely approve that too. Adult children expecting to inherit their parents' homes or heirlooms, and grandchildren anticipating money for college are left empty-handed since the money has gone to pay lawyers, court appointees, and others. Rick Black of a nonprofit group, Center for Estate Administration Reform, SEER, caused this mass transfer of generational assets the largest redistribution of wealth this nation has ever seen. Black says states have passed little meaningful legislation to curb guardianship abuses, even though state courts confiscate from wards a collective $50 billion every year. It's organized crime. Susan of Connecticut asks, how do we stop those who are using our loved ones as human ATMs? In the summer of 2016, her aunt Susan, 64, began to experience dementia. An estranged brother with Susan and her considerable assets holding to Alabama and ultimately into guardianship. 8 years later, Susan is now suffering from acute dementia or Alzheimer's and has been forced to live in a nursing home. Susan concludes this is state trafficking. It is human trafficking. It's a shame. So how does this civil rights crushing system get to hold of potential wars in the first place? Sometimes a trusted but worried family member starts the ball rolling to help legally protect a disabled or elderly relative. And if they are appointed as guardian, things usually turn out well. But literally, anyone can hire a lawyer to write up a petition of guardianship, and that's all it takes. The petitioner can be an angry ex-lover. Now, allegedly, in the Wendy Williams case, allegedly, her ex-husband, Kelvin Hunter, the sister, and others were allegedly involved, I'll put it like this, because they knew Wendy Williams needed help. But then, unfortunately, things took a spin for the worse. Some higher level sinister people that was in the midst plucked the sister out the way and everybody in the family and did a sneaky guardianship that had nothing to do with the family so they could take Wendy Williams and take her money. Excuse me. So they said a petition could be an angry ex-lover or a business partner or a financial advisor, lawyer, hospital, landlord, or a total stranger. Your neighbor could want your house. They could go to the court, act like they concerned. I saw Diva. She looked like she was. I saw Diva when I asked her how she was doing, and normally she's swift and with it. She was talking all crazy. So they act like they concerned, but in the meantime, they just want my home, my car, my money. The petition spells out why the targeted person cannot look out for their own well-being, but often the petitions contain outright lies. Her daughter stole $1 million from her mother who has dementia. Remember, at some point, they was trying to accuse Wendy Williams' son of stealing her money. Or he has CP, cerebral palsy, and can't handle the $1.9 million medical malpractice settlement he just won. So when before he won, said person won this money, and they was broke, so to speak, or maybe getting a little check from the state. They was good. They can handle their check, all that by themselves. Now, all of a sudden, they got $1.9 million, and they not going to be able to do it. They need help. No matter that, the daughter did not steal money, and her mother has not been diagnosed with dementia. The judge doesn't bother to learn that the young man with CP wants the control of his money so he can go on to college. Judges normally just rubber stamp these petitions. So in other words, the petition is brought to the court. They don't even bother to look to see what's true, what's not true, who's telling the truth. They usually hit the gavel. Why? Because it's all organized crime. And it's done under legal guise, but it's crime. In the courts that hear guardianship or conservatorship cases, due process is not guaranteed, meaning they don't give a darn if it's true or not. There are no trials, and the targeted person and their family may not even know there is a legal proceeding underway. Meaning, sometimes this whole proceeding happens without anybody even knowing, and then once the judge hit the gavel, you're under guardianship. Boom. Escape from guardianship is rare. You see what it took for Britney Spears to get out. Persecution of bad actors in the system is equally rare, but not unheard of. I remember the day when we saw this picture rise with Wendy Williams wearing this shirt out and about, not looking well. And this was April 2021 that photo was from. In New Mexico, Wendy and Susan Harris, the husband-wife team, who were charged with stealing nearly $12 million from wards. Susan, called the engine of the scheme, was sentenced to 47 years in prison. Hope she rots in there. Her husband got 15 years. I hope he rots the 15 years that he does. And these are talking about people who actually were jailed for scheming wards, the people they were supposed to be guardians over. In Las Vegas, a frequently appointed guardian named April Parks was indicted on 270 felony counts for stealing at least $560,000 from her wards. Hope she rots in jail. She also belligerently refused to send many of her wards' remains to their loved ones. Oh, she never sleeps at night. She was sentenced to 16 to 40 years in prison. Hope she serves 40. In Florida, guardian Tracy Hudson was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison after pleading guilty to stealing $575,000 from her dependent wards. I don't need money that bad. No, I do not. I will work 3 jobs to get what I want before I steal from somebody. I don't want money that bad, and I don't need to steal, and I don't want to go to jail. So after this particular one serves her 8.5 years, she has to serve 20 years probation. And I hope when she comes out, she can barely get a job and she's living in the streets. Now, the person that wrote this article spent more than 8 years investigating and write about the evil side of the court instigated system. It became clear that there was a nationwide pattern to the isolation, over medication, fraud, and financial exploitation of the truly vulnerable, as well as those needlessly confined under this system. Oh, incisors will tell you it's all about protecting at-risk citizens from conniving family members and others who want their early inheritance. But the most abusive guardianships are really about how much money can be siphoned off by the unscrupulous working within the shadowy industry. Paulette, 94, has lived in a rent-controlled West Side apartment for more than 50 years. Hold on one second. According to close friends, Paulette became a guardianship victim via a plot to remove her so the landlord could take over the apartment, reported to be worth millions, and flip it. Now, see, here's the stupidity of those that went into this scheme. By design, she was 94. I mean, 10 years and you could have had the apartment. Are we kidding? Are you kidding me right now? At best, 10 years. Because in 10 years, she would have been 104. At best, 10 years. After Paulette was briefly hospitalized, and according to a lawsuit filed in New York Supreme Court, she suddenly found herself in a strange facility with a controlling guardian. The lawsuits allege that the landlord, members of the apartment board, petitioning attorney Elizabeth, and the guardian, Charles, created and then perpetuated a false story about her best friend and power of attorney designee. So they lied on the people. As Cher, her son. The guardianship was established on the grounds that the tenant was under FBI that the tenant's guardian was under FBI investigation for theft and elder abuse. That was not true, according to Paulette's attorney. There was never an FBI investigation. During the 19 months of her guardianship, most of Paulette's $850,000 savings were spent in 19 months. So they emptied out Wendy's bank account and didn't even give her a piece of chicken. The family won a rare victory when he got his client's guardianship terminated. The lawsuit asked for damages of $60 million for the client and $40 million for the person they accused. Since both state and federal lawmakers have known about guardianship abuses for decades and have done nothing meaningful to change the status quo, it seems lawsuits like these will be the only way for the victims to get justice. Diane Diamond is the author of last year's We're Here to Help When Guardianship Goes Wrong. Listen, guys, maybe we heard about this Britney Spears and this Wendy Williams guardianship thing so that we can protect ourselves and probably family members now and in the future. Now you know how shady this thing is. If someone starts to ring guardianship in your ear about your auntie, your mama, your sister, your cousin, be careful, tread lightly. Don't fight within the family, because your fighting might cause the court to appoint a perfect stranger, and then you will lose total control of your family member. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.